Hi, my name's Chaz and you're watching Chaz's Languages. In this video, you'll learn possessive pronouns, irregular present tense verbs, and stem-changing verbs in Spanish. Hi everyone, thank you for watching and welcome to the second Spanish lesson on the channel. Today we'll talk about possessive pronouns, irregular present tense verbs, and stem-changing verbs. I'll first start off with possessive pronouns. Now, possessive pronouns are used with nouns to show possession or who owns what. In Spanish, there are two forms for the possessive pronouns, the singular and the plural, depending on if the noun it's used with is in the singular or the plural form. So the first possessive pronoun, my, is me in the singular and mis in the plural. And then your is tu in the singular and tus in the plural. And then for his, her, or its, in the singular it's su, and in the plural, sus. And then for our, it's nuestro, and in the plural, nuestros. Now this possessive pronoun is a little bit different because it has to agree with the noun that it's being used with, and also it has to change for the singular or plural forms. So for masculine nouns, it would be nuestro and nuestros in the plural, and then for feminine nouns, nuestra and then nuestras in the plural. The next possessive pronoun for you alls or you guyses is vuestro, and it's the same as nuestro. It must also agree with the gender of the noun it's being used with. So it's vuestro and vuestros in the plural for masculine nouns, and then vuestra and vuestras in the plural for feminine nouns. And then for there, it's su in the singular and sus in the plural. So let's look at a few examples of the possessive pronouns being used with some nouns. So to say my age, you would take the possessive pronoun me and use it with the noun edad, which is a feminine noun, and me is not affected by gender, so it would just be mi edad, meaning my age. And for the next example, we'll look at how to say his cakes. So you take the pronoun su and use it with the noun pastel, which means cakes, and you put pastel in the plural, which would be pasteles, and then you have to change su to the plural, so it would be sus pasteles, his cakes. And then for the last example, to say our hands, you would take possessive pronoun nuestro for our, and the noun mano, meaning hand, put it in the plural, and it becomes manos, and then you conjugate nuestro for the feminine plural because mano is a feminine noun, so altogether it would be nuestras manos, meaning our hands. And next, let's take a look at the irregular present tense verbs in Spanish. Now in Spanish, most irregular present tense verbs are irregular in the yo form or the I form, but there are also several that are irregular in all the other forms as well. So let's take a look at the first example with the verb ser, meaning to be. For the yo form, it would be yo soy. And then the next, tú eres. And for usted, él, ella, es. And nosotros somos. Vosotros sois. And lastly, ustedes or ellos or ellas son. And then to say it is, you just simply say es, because in Spanish there's not really a noun that means it. So as you'll see there, this verb is highly irregular because the yo form is completely different from all the other forms, and then the tú and usted and él and ella form are similar, but the nosotros, vosotros, and ustedes and ellos forms are completely different. And then the nosotros, vosotros, and ustedes, ellos forms are all similar, but again, they're different from all the other forms of this verb. And then the next verb we'll look at is the verb estar, which means to be. And I know this may be confusing because ser also means to be, but there's actually a big difference between the two verbs. They're used differently in a few different ways, and I'll go over that in a future video, but for now, just remember that they both mean to be. So for the yo form, yo estoy, and then tú estás, and then usted, él, and ella está. Nosotros estamos, vosotros estáis, and ustedes or ellos están. And as you may notice with this verb, it's only irregular in the yo form. All the other forms are pretty regular. Just the yo form is very different, and it is an OY ending instead of the normal O ending for verbs when they're conjugated for the yo form. And then for the next verb, we'll look at the verb tengo, which means to have. So for yo, it would be yo tengo. And then tú tienes. Usted, él, ella tiene. Nosotros tenemos. Vosotros tenéis. And ustedes or ellos tienen. And then for the next verb, we'll look at the verb venir, which means to come. Now, this verb has a very similar conjugation pattern to tener. It also has a go added to the end for the yo form. So for yo, it would be yo tengo. And then tú tienes. Usted, él, ella tiene. Nosotros tenemos. Vosotros tenís. And ustedes or ellos tienen. As you may have noticed with these two verbs, tener and venir, they're only irregular in the yo forms, and then they have a change in the stem of the verb where the E changes to an I to the E, but only for the tú, usted, ella, and ustedes or ellos forms. The nosotros and vosotros forms don't have a stem change in them, only the other forms of the verbs. And later in the video, I'll talk more about this. And then the last irregular verb we'll look at in this video is the verb ir, meaning to go. In all of its conjugated forms, it looks completely different from its dictionary form. Its yo form is completely different, and all the other forms of it conjugate like AR verbs. So first, yo, voy, tú, vas, usted, él, ella, va, nosotros, vamos, vosotros, vais, and ustedes or ellos van. And then lastly in the video, we'll talk about stem-changing verbs. As mentioned earlier, tener and venir are both stem-changing verbs which have an E to IE change in their stem. So that is one stem change type in verbs in Spanish. And then there's another one where an O stem changes to a UE. And those are the two types of stem changes that we'll look at today in this video. With stem-changing verbs, all the conjugated forms of the verb are affected by it except for the nosotros and vosotros forms. They do not have a stem change in their conjugated forms. So let's take a look at some verbs for examples. So the first example is with the verb pensar, which means to think. And it's a verb that has a stem change from an E to IE. So it would be yo pienso, tú piensas, usted, él, ella piensa, nosotros pensamos, and as you'll notice there, the E does not change. Vosotros pensáis, the same thing, the E there does not change. Ustedes, ellos, piensan. And then for the next verb of this type, where an E changes to an IE, we'll look at the verb querer, which means to want or to love. So conjugated for yo would be yo quiero, and then tú quieres, él, ella quiere, nosotros queremos, vosotros queréis, and ustedes, ellos quieren. And again here, the nosotros and vosotros forms do not have the E to IE change in their stems. And then the next verbs we'll look at have the stem change type from an O to UE. So first, let's look at the verb dormir, which means to sleep. And for the yo form, it would be yo duermo, and then tú duermes, usted, él, ella duerme, nosotros dormimos. And as you see here, the nosotros form is again not affected by the stem change. And then vosotros dormís, and again, vosotros is not affected by the stem change. And then finally, ustedes, ellos duermen. And the last verb we'll look at is the verb poder, meaning to be able to or can. And it's another verb that has an O to UE change. So conjugated it would be yo puedo, tú puedes, usted, él, ella puede, nosotros podemos, vosotros podéis, and ustedes or ellos pueden. And again, as you see here, the nosotros and vosotros forms are not affected by the stem change. Well, that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed watching the second Spanish lesson. Please give the video a like if you enjoyed watching. Like the Facebook page and follow the Twitter page for channel updates and notifications, as well as more language learning. And as always, don't forget to subscribe for more Spanish lessons. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.